Hi everyone, today we're going to show you how to relocate the TSS sensor on the 5th gen Toyota 4Runner. So the first thing we need to do here to get access to relocating the sensor is to remove this large plastic cover from the top of the radiator area. So in order to remove that, you're going to take out all of these little round plastic clips here all the way across the back and the front. You just want to push down on the center of these clips and then just get underneath the edge of it with a small flat blade screwdriver. You can lift the clip right up out of the hole. So you want to remove all of those clips all the way around and then take this plastic cover and set it off to the side. So now that we've gotten our plastic cover removed here, we're going to go in behind the grill here and locate the TSS sensor. So that's going to be this large sensor right back here with this harness plugged into it. So we need to remove that sensor from this bracket that's inside the grill here. So there's just 3 screws that hold that sensor in place. It's going to be this one right here. Use a 10mm socket for that one. This screw on top here, the silver one, you'll want to use a Phillips screwdriver for that one. And then over on this side, there is another screw that you'll use 10mm socket for. So this one right here, you'll need to use 10mm socket. I've already loosened those beforehand just so that they are a little bit easier to tell which is which. And remove those 3 screws and then the sensor will be ready to come out of the bracket. We've got all of the screws removed from our sensor, so it's ready to be taken out of the bracket. The next thing we need to do is this plastic clip is holding the wiring harness, so that needs to be pinched together on both sides so that it can be removed from the steel bracket. And then on this side, once that clip is disconnected, you can pull the sensor out of the bracket, and then you'll want to unplug the sensor, and you just squeeze down on this tab here and pull back, and the wiring harness will disconnect from the sensor. Here's what you will receive with your TSS relocation kit. You'll get the bracket for the sensor, 2 1/4 by 3/4 bolts with flat washers, lock washers, and nuts, and 2 5/16 by 1 bolts with flat washers and flange nuts. All right, we now have the sensor out of the vehicle. We've pulled it out from the front of the 4Runner, and we're going to take the provided bracket for relocating the sensor, and we're going to show you how to line up the sensor inside the bracket. So we want to hold the bracket this way, take the plug portion of the sensor facing down, and put it into the bracket. Make sure that this tab here is on the other side of that bracket when you set it in there. And then we'll take the provided 1/4 inch bolts and washers, put them in from this side, and then you'll put flat washer, lock washer, and a nut on the other side. Now you can see that these holes are also slotted in here, so the sensor can be adjusted up and down. We typically put the sensor towards the bottom, but it can be adjusted up or down a little bit if you need to after you get it installed and find that it needs to go up or down to clear a bull bar or something like that on your bumper. So the next thing we need to do to get ready to install the new relocation bracket is we need to take these 2 plastic clips out from behind the grill here. Just as a reference, we're working over on more towards the driver's side of the vehicle, right in front of the horns here. So you come down inside and use just a flat blade screwdriver to pop up the top of these clips. As soon as that pops up, you can pull the clip out and remove it. You'll want to take out both of those plastic clips. Now that those plastic clips have been removed from behind the grill, we're going to take our bracket and our sensor, and it's going to mount into those 2 holes where those plastic clips were. So you want to line up the bracket, the sensor facing down behind the grill, line up with those 2 holes, and you're going to install the supplied 5/16 by 1 bolts with washers and nuts. So we have our sensor and bracket installed behind the grill here. We use the 5/16 by 1 bolts with a flat washer on top and the flange nut on the bottom. And you can see that this bracket, there's some slotted holes. It has some adjustment to it. So what you want to do before you tighten these bolts is make sure that this bracket is adjusted so that this bracket is on the same parallel plane as the radiator support here. You want to make sure that your bracket isn't crooked or pointing off in the wrong direction, because the sensor needs to be pointing straight forward to the front of the vehicle. So adjust your bracket and then tighten down the bolts. And after the bolts are tight, you can reconnect the plug to the wiring harness for the sensor. Once that's connected, the install and relocation is complete. So the last thing you're going to need to do to finish up the sensor relocation is to reinstall this plastic cover in the engine bay. So you'll want to reinstall these round clips that you removed earlier. You have to make sure the center is not depressed so that you can put it back into the hole here, reinsert, and then push the top of the clip down. Once all those clips are installed, then your install is complete.